started. Now see, I didn't do any of this, Les. I just went out, built it, flew it, chop it up, hit it with a hammer, and then Joe Adamusco kicks it on me.
That's right.
Did you see Adamusco kick the ARF? He walks by, kicks it like he's doing a field goal. He said, "That's an ARF."
That was fun. To me after he kicked it.
I'll tell you one thing, if Joe Adamusco kicks the Testarossa, he's going to get kicked back. He's in big trouble. So now the bottom line, we got 10 ARFs and ARCs in the club. We have 10 altogether that I've sold, and probably Peabody sold another 4 or 5 of them. So the question is, who's going to, at the end of the year, have the killer ARF?
This thing alone is almost...
Still raining. Still raining. Oh, man. Just got out of the flying... Yeah, it's stopping, but we're hoping the weekend's going to be better as the ARC adventure continues. I got a little picture tonight from our really good friend and editor of all the things I've ever written. Most of them, all of them, maybe all of them. John Pothier also builds and is a monocoat expert. And one of the interesting things here is this is one of the models he's really looking forward to building. Now it's got spring type gear, and he was asking me for some input on how to go about doing these gear. But this is a classic, looks, I don't know, like a GB, I guess. Reminds me of an old Smog Hog or something like that. It's an old model, older design, but obviously if we can figure a way of mounting, and these gear have shock like Al Raby's gear. Now a person who might have good input into this is George, because George made a when George Venturini made a giant GB. I know he's got a giant GB in his shop. And the wheel pants are as big as soda bottles, so he's got all that built in there. But, well, we could supply some carbon fiber or some real heavy-duty plywood. I would be thinking that this is certainly not undoable. And maybe Rich Oliver has some ideas, since I have one of Al's planes in the attic that has the spring-type gear. And Rich Oliver has a few of them down at his house. I think he's got 2 or 3 of them. Maybe between us we can come up with some idea, but or I'm not sure. All that action goes on inside the wheel pants. You could mold these wheel pants in shells one side to the other. Might be a good idea too. I'm looking at this and I'm thinking there's no, I mean, you could upscale this to use all 5/32 wire, or I can think of a lot of different ways of doing this, and Al published that. I think John already has that little article that Al published. But that's what's cool about being a modeler and being able to share this stuff. Anyway, we'll give it some thought, John. Now, in the course of doing this series of videos, Strega ARFs and ARCs, the first thing we tried to show is assembly. The next thing we tried to show was flight trim. And the flights, of course. The mods you may want to make. Now, we've kind of shown the assembly so far of the ARF. We've done a lot of flight trimming, motor trimming, whatever, for the ARF. But we're coming up on the part now where some of the mods that we may or may not want to do, and I wanted to summarize it because we're going to be starting soon, I think, and it would depend on Les Emmett's schedule, where he's going to start modifying an ARC to be a little bit higher tech than just a normal ARF. Now, some of the things we talked about today, and I thought I'd make a list of these because we're really doing 3 things at once. We're doing a 90 ship, the ARF and the ARC now, all at the same time. But when it comes to the ARC, there's a couple of things you can notice right off the bat. Now, the first thing, if you have a Strega ARC, needless to say, there'll be no finish on it, like the kit we just opened up. What we did, the first thing we did, Les made a database of what the parts, the weights. Now, if you don't change anything, so you have to understand how this works. If you understand how this works, a lot of it will make sense. If you don't understand it, it's going to kind of get into a mishmash of things. Now, when you weigh these parts, a lot of the wood that's on the ARC is thicker. And I'm not sure what the reason is, if they use metric size wood or they just, I mean, wood gets graded in thousands, but less weight, an awful lot of the pieces of wood, and they're thicker than where the plans would call for 1/16. Some places they have heavier wood. In the case of body formers, they have plywood. And I understand because they've engineered this up to be built in jigs. But you can take advantage of this. See, this doesn't need to be a negative thing because you can start by sanding, and this is what we're going to do with Les's ship. Now his time is limited because he's in the middle of exactly what we were last year, selling a house. And that's a major, major thing when you've got to do the work and get involved in it. But we looked at every part, and I thought just by taking a wing, for instance, we could get an ounce or two off by block sanding it out. Now the wing sheeting is thicker than it needs to be. There's web spars in there more than there has to be. But let me explain what the logic of this is. The logic of all of this is you have thicker wood, and if you sand it down, if you start off with a piece of 1/8 inch, and I'm going to just make a simple example of, and it's 5-pound wood. And you say, gee whiz, the wood that came in a kit is probably 8-pound or 10-pound. Well, if it's 10-pound wood, and you do a lot of sanding on it, you probably can get it down to 8 or to 7 just by physically thinning the piece of wood. So if you're doing an ARC, one of the things you want to keep in mind is sand away. First off, the wood is a little thicker than it would be if you custom made this with all your best wood. It's going to allow you or let you, we even thought about, in Les's case, getting one of these little palm sanders at our Home Depot to see how much we could get off. Now, in the case of Les's plane, he's probably going to put an exceptional finish on it. But if you were just doing a quick and dirty finish, let me just give you some ideas of what I think can happen here. Let me just make a few thoughts. You're doing a hand-built Strega. You hand select all out your best wood. Let's say you're going to use 6-pound wood. You're going to do a lot of sanding. But somewhere at the end of this, you're going to put on a finish. Now, the best finish I've ever done is in the 7-ounce range. Most people tend to do a 10-ounce finish. So you got 7 to 10 ounces in this hand-built, hand-selected assembly. And now if the total weight of this airplane, in the case of my hand-built Strega, was 64 ounces. Okay, but 7 to 10 of it was in the finish. Now, an ARF, the ARF that I'm flying right now, a little bit different. There's more wood, because it's probably made out of 8-pound wood. But instead of having this finish, it's probably got, Mike Estella said he weighed it up at 3 ounces of monocoat. Well, what it is, you probably have 5 ounces of extra wood, 3 ounces of monocoat, because basically if you look at this, ours I think came out 65. I'm not sure, I don't remember, but it was real close. It was within an ounce. But that opens the door to the question of the day. If you take a Strega and you sand it, hollow blocks, especially the inner tip and the bottom of the fuselage, if you do all this, and I suggested this to Les and he didn't really think it was important, but now that I've thought about it, I thought it's worth putting on a video. Think of Bob Barron. Bob Barron used to do what I thought was a somewhere in between thing. He did monocoat wings and paint the fuselage. Now, if you're doing an ARC, this is really easy to do. And you kind of, I think you could, by sanding the wood and by the weight you would save hollowing the blocks, and the fact you could monocoat the wing and just paint the fuselage, I think it wouldn't be unreasonable to have even a better weight than either one of these two. Now the problem is if you're going to fly at the gnats and you're worried about appearance points and yada 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 yada, but also let's not forget the other thing. Even at the gnats, if you do like Mike Costello and ARC and you do the sanding and you do the hollowing and you do your own monocoating, you paint the fuse, you get appearance points. Unlike poor Wendy who gets none, or this one that wins the Concourse Award. So as this whole project is evolving and as I'm seeing it happen now, we've already got about a dozen of these in the club. We're at the end of our 21st day. This is the end of 3 weeks of working on this. We've already built, flown, trimmed, burned fuel almost at the 10-gallon mark. What's happening is a lot of doors are opening up that I had never even thought about. And what I thought about, and I'm going to try to encourage Les to try it, is do a similar Bob Barron where you have the best of all worlds. Now, nobody in the world, when it comes to appearance points, see, this is where it gets funky. You always have somebody who's worried about appearance points. Let me just go to the next step. So let's say you're real interested in appearance points. Now, you can do this whether you have the Ukrainian model, the Shark, the ARF Smoothie, and just to name a few, that any of the models that come pre-built. But the point is, if you judge appearance points, and let's just go right down the line here, because I thought this through and I thought this may be more complicated in the beginning than I thought it would be. If you're going to do what we talked about, the Bob Barron model, you're going to buy a plane that's basically built in pieces. Well, do a really good sanding, lighten up the wood by sanding it thin, do a good monocoat job to save weight, paint the fuselage. You're probably going to wind up no worse than a lot of people that do a sloppy dope finish in appearance points. But let's just put the ARC there. Let's say if you do a nice, neat job. Now, right next to you is the guy who buys a pre-built wing, of which you can buy several. You can buy these commercially. There's no secret. You can buy foam wings. You can buy foam wings with the bell crank already installed. You can buy parts, component parts. Well, I like to think of this, if we had legitimate appearance judging, if it was as accurate as I think it should be, what they should take into consideration in an ARC is the quality of the sanding, even if you buy a pre-built wing, the quality of the sanding, even if you buy a foam wing. Then there should be the quality of the finish. In the case of a good monocoat job or the Ukrainian plane has some kind of primer on it when you buy it. Well, what I'm getting at here is I would think all of these somewhere would have equal appearance points. I would think. And I would think there'd be maybe a point or two less than a full dope finish. I don't know, but I think you could come real close. And you could come close legitimately. Because in the world we live in, nobody puts you down if you run off and have somebody build a wing for you. Nobody puts you down if you have a foam wing. Nobody puts you down if you have an ARC. And nobody is going to put me down for flying an ARF. What I'm saying is you really have to think this through. Because here's what's really happened. Way back when I was a kid, and boy was that a long ways away, you bought a kit and you had wood sheets. And on those sheets, they had printed the parts. You had to go get a razor and cut them out. Well, time went by, and along came kits and die cutting. Well, now you didn't need the razors. Now it was kind of cool. And it was modern. Everybody really liked this. And everybody that I ever knew kind of said, wow, thank God we're done with that part of, let's move on. Then along came what we have now, Laser cutting. My Cardinal kits have been laser cut for the last 92, 102, 14 years. So, laser cutting, and I don't know anybody that's still die cutting. There are probably a few kits die cut, but most modern kits, they want laser cutting. Now along comes the next step in evolution. In the modern world, evolution is the ruling force in all of things, no matter what happens. You have semi-built planes, like the Ukrainian Shark, ARFs, ARCs, Sharks. Now, each one of these takes a unique amount of skill to finish build. See, none of these planes are RFs. They're ARFs. They're not built. They're almost built. Any more than laser cutting builds the plane for you. You still have to build it. Semi-built, almost built, ARFs, ARCs, and Sharks still need you to finish them. Now, what's going to someday evolve, maybe this is already evolving and I'm just out of the loop. Somewhere down the road we may live, well, I probably won't live long enough, the Seablades RTF. Now, I've seen, because we saw this at the World Championships, where the Yashenkos basically sold, here's the plane with the motor in it, the lines attached, and the handle, and the little box that it comes in. That was ready to fly. Well, nobody I know in the United States has these commercially available yet. We're still at this level here. But the level, this is going to evolve someday, and whether you realize it or not, it's a question of if you have vision, or in the case of some people, they prefer living in the past. You see some of the religious fanatics, they want to live like it's 1,000 years ago. You know, my grandmother wanted to live, she didn't want a blender, she wanted to stir that oatmeal by hand. And you had people that didn't want cars, they wanted horses. When I proposed electric starters to the AMA, people went wild. No, it's going to kill the event, you need to flip it by hand. Well, no matter what you say, time marches on, and all of the people that fight evolution, they only postpone their disappointment, because this is the way things have evolved in our sport. We're not here yet. We may not be here in the next few years, but we're at this level. And the truth is, this level still requires some skill and some energy to put the model together. So when I hear people say, and I get really offended by it, oh, you're flying an ARF. Well, you still have to glue it together. And instead of, well, you built a laser cut kit. Oh, wait, I don't. See, you can go back to living in caves if you want. We're here. We've been here. We're going here. It's part of the evolution. It's horses, automobiles, and where we're going to go next to personal watercraft. I don't know. But we're in an evolutionary state. And the evolutionary state is that things get cheaper, they get easier, they get to be more fun. They go hand in hand. Things don't get harder, harder, and harder, or they would never evolve. They evolve because they get easier and more fun. They appeal to more people, more things become available. Now, having said that, when I look at how Les is putting his ARC together, Brian, they're building model planes. They're just not building them from wood sheets. They're not building them from die-cut parts. They're not building them really from laser-cut parts. They're building them from little assemblies. And I think if you understand this evolution, then you're not offended by the fact that, and some people still feel I'm a modeler and I build my own planes and I design them and I do this and I do that. But you know what? In the modern world, very few people have the luxury of that amount of time, energy, money, or combination of that. And I don't want to be in a dying breed of dinosaurs where there's only 3 people left in the world that can make carbon fiber wings. I'd like to be in a world where, yes, I can make the carbon fiber wing, can build my exotic twins, I can do everything I want, and when I want to have a good time on a Saturday and get a bunch of guys out to the field to have a good fly-in, like we hope is going to happen over this weekend, that we can just come out with a bunch of ARFs and we can have the fun that originally drew us into this event. Now that I've said that, I guarantee everybody in the world is mad at me. And that's okay. You've been mad at me all along anyway. And you ask Karen. She knows I'm mad. Anyway, we're going to hope there's good weather tomorrow. The rain has let up. I've said my thing about these. Les is excited about his ARC. By now, all of the people that I've sold these to have already gotten, and I've tried to get these DVDs out to people as soon as possible. I've really not just let it hang, because everybody is adding to our little email list and to our little exchange of information. And I think that alone makes this project very rewarding. Now, the rest is up to the weatherman. Well, Christmas is over. Time to take the tree down. Rather than a flying day, a little bit of a rainstorm went through here. It's gusting and everything out there, so we're just going to wait to fly tomorrow. We hope your family had as happy of a holidays as we've had, and all this extra free 2.5 months of free flying season. Not sure when it's ever going to end. 62 degrees out there today, but the wind is howling. I get up here to the field this morning and, well, it looks like it's going to be an unflyable day, that, thanks to a lot of reasons, the wind being one. They got a little model rocket tournament going on here. They're shooting off model rockets. I've never seen anything like this before. Now, so far, they haven't had a lot of real success, so I don't know where this is going. These guys. Needless to say, we're not going to fly while they're shooting rockets off at our field. Cool. How high did that go?
I don't know, maybe like 500.
Get any idea?
You're never getting it now. Where'd it go? I lost it. Yeah!
There it is. How high do you think that went?
I think that went about 300.
Cool.
Last week went 500 and we lost it.
Oh no.
Ready?
Now is this the same size one as you had before?
Yes. Yeah.
Okay.
Last week we lost it.
Oh, okay. What does that mean? The trigger didn't go off, or? Wonder if Osama bin Laden has these problems. Oh, geez, there we were, and up to our. All right, here we go. Launch 3. NASA Space Shuttle, 2007. Oh, you got one? Oh! All right, it deployed.
Catch it.
Did you catch it?
What's gonna happen?
You're fired!
When it
Okay.
reaches the apogee, which is the highest point,
Right.
you pinch the wire at the degree.
Okay, and it tells you roughly how high it went.
No, you have to use Tanger chart.
Okay.
And you multiply it by 30 meters, which is how far you have to be away from the rocket, and that will show the height.
Okay, but you get close anyway.
Yeah.
You get to you don't get within a foot or something.
No, but
Pretty
you
cool. Now, how many of these rockets you got?
Well, I used to have 2, but I lost one because it fell in someone's yard.
And you have to build a rocket? I mean, or...
That one I had to build, yeah.
Okay, cool.
But the other one I had it come pre-built.
Pretty cool. We never saw guys launching rockets here before. In the morning, you come early, there'll be seagulls here. I'm sure they'll love it. So the Brian DeTavio Rocket Club is in order here. Yeah.
can't see it.
Oh, there it is.
No, yeah, you'll see it. Here it comes. Here it comes.
See it coming down.
This kid here is playing. Yeah, come on, get it. Where's it going? Notice nobody's flying here. Where
There it comes, straight down over here.
Oh, the gulls don't like this at all.
You gotta look towards the pool, Wendy. It's coming down.
Where is it?
Coming down, coming down.
This guy doesn't see anything.
Land in the pool.
Where'd it go? Did it go past?
Did it go in the pool?
Yeah. Yeah, it's like that.
This is the good news. Not a seagull anywhere in sight. Boy, they don't like those rockets. See, that's a smaller size one that probably, how much do you weigh? About 110?
100.
Okay. This would probably be more appealing than a bigger one. But, and then there's this size.
That's about the same.
Same. And then a bigger size like what's in my car, so.
Aero Tiger 36.
Did you fly this yet, Mike?
No.
Today's not a prime day.
No,
Trust me,
there's
it's
one
an ARF day.
There's one.
Got an ARF we can fly?
No, there's one thing left.
Yeah, oh yeah, Brookins flew it without the glue and the hinges in.
It's all paper in between here, so it's just wooden ribs.
And it's a gasoline engine. I mean, like your rocket engines, you need a little bit of safety instruction before you go starting it in your cellar or something like that.
What do you think?
Nice.
The engine should pull it around.
Oh,
nice.
yeah.
That's
Oh yeah, that's a nice little engine. This is a cute little plant. There's a lot of work building it though.
Yeah.
This is not an ARF, not a 5-hour project,
No,
right,
that
Mike?
wasn't a 5-hour project. That was
That's how Billy Warwood got old building these things.
This is his color scheme too, right?
Yeah, this is his.
Yeah, very similar. Yeah, it's
Very
nice.
similar? No, not exactly similar. Almost an exact copy.
Now that's a Brodak kit, or did you?
Yes, that's
right out of the kit.
That's the first run of the Brodak kit.
Okay.
That I bought when he introduced the kit. When I was out there, I guess.
So what is this, like a 62 Aries? How's that work?
59 Aries.
59 Aries?
Yeah.
This is a little bigger than the one like the Ambroid Aries used to be, or was, or is.
The airfoil's a little different.
Okay.
It's got the.
How blunt is that leading edge?
Yeah, that's blunt.
Pretty. You blunted it out, right? Okay, cool.
Set group, you can fly classic planes against each other.
Now, is today too windy to fly over here, or
No, it's just we're just waiting for some action. There's people crazy. I'm one of them. They'll be crazy
He's
enough
gonna
to fly.
What are you waiting for?
No reason. We had guys launching rockets.
Oh,
I heard he say he was cold.
We had a rocket launching class. I never saw a rocket in my whole life go. This guy had 3
We had
rockets.
2 go up and they landed right over there, and then the last one, I don't know what happened to it.
Did you lost 1 out of 3?
The
All
last
right, so
one
what?
I think wound up over this way, because I seen orange coming down, but then as soon as I got in the horizon, I couldn't see it.
It did go that way, right?
I thought it went in.
Yeah, that looks nice, Mike.
Thank you.
Because we were tracking it, and it was coming down.
Messed up some and.
Yeah, it didn't flow.
Hey, Bri.
I wanted to, I guess.
Right. Let's build this ARF.
It's an ARF or an ARF? It's an ARF.
No, it's an ARF. Did you open a box yet? Open the box. Let's see what color it is.
It sounds like a deal or no deal.
Open it.
The case.
I'm sure one of these days we're going to open this up. There's going to be a dead Chinaman inside.
Open the case.
There'll be a dead cat or something inside. That's a nice weight. Wow, he got a good one. Hey, you ain't getting this one back, Porky. Let me see the body. If Les sees this, Les weighed his tail. He was all upset.
I know, I saw it.
That's nice. Oh.